Welcome, folks. I'm Jaby Koay, joined by Lorena Abreu. Abreu, that's how I remember it. Abreu. We're looking at Stuntmen react to bad and great Hollywood stunts. This is from Corridor Crew, the YouTube channel. Thank you, Corridor Crew, for allowing us to react to this. Very, very much appreciate it. Y'all, if you haven't already, subscribe to Corridor Crew. There's a link in the description below. You can click on that, give the original an upvote, and subscribe to them from there. Also, Lorena is an elite parkour lady person who I found through Joining All Movement. Gotta represent. YouTube.com/joiningallmovement. I'm on there as a guest from time to time. You can go to Instagram @joiningallmovement. Giving you a whole bunch of homework to do. Before we get into this reaction video, subscribe, bell icon, all notifications, pretty please vote this up, let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Chris Cowan and Yung, I don't think there's, well, Chris is definitely not a stunt guy. I know that about him. But Chris, you guys, again, Joining All Movement, YouTube.com/joiningallmovement. He's got a great 1 hour long interview with Travis Wong. One of the best interviews I've heard in a long time in terms of just like getting some real insight into the industry and Marvel and stuff like that. Not that I gotta tell you, but I'm just saying, like, it was a very, very fun conversation and you guys should check it out. I highly recommend it. I'm not familiar with Yung, other than like Corridor Cruise videos, but yeah. A lot of preamble, huh? Shut up, Jaby. Just get into the video.
You're good, you're good.
Oh, that's an old fight.
What makes this such a good scene?
It's like great design with such great comedy at the same time. It makes no sense.
Here's the other thing that okay, can we go back? Let's go back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stuntmen React. I'm here with our friends Chris Cowan and Yung Lee, and boy oh boy, this is gonna be a good episode. These guys are responsible.
So they're stuntmen, the three of them?
No.
Oh.
None of them are stuntmen. It's just called Stuntmen React because that's the easiest way to classify this particular genre on Corridor Crew's channel.
Okay.
They do have stunt guys on, including Travis Wong and Ilram Choi and a bunch of other, although Ilram's retired, but like they've had a bunch of, and Guy De Silva, like they've had proper stunt guys on. Travis isn't a stunt guy anymore either. I don't know why I said him, but he used to do stunts and he stunt coordinated a lot, right?
Yeah.
He still stunt coordinates. But these guys help with fight design. So that's why they're still qualified to talk on the matter.
Yeah. Okay.
In the Kingsman films, some of the stuff in Solo, heck, even some of the classic videos on the Freddie W, aka Rocket Jump channel. So we're gonna jump in to some really cool action scenes. We're gonna look at some junky action scenes. He was gonna break down how they would approach them differently. Let's jump in.
I'm so stoked for this. I've been waiting all my life for this moment.
Let's take a look at the Agent Smith versus Neo fight.
Let us.
From the end of the first Matrix.
Neo?
What is he doing? He's beginning to believe.
What makes this such a good scene?
So many good things here.
I mean, there's this. Yo, this is like
yeah, that blew my mind.
It's the duality of the shots, the reverses. Like so many is Neo Smith.
Shows so much about character here. This is really a story about character.
How many times have you watched this fight scene?
It's also really
I
fire
love that
editing.
it's so much
Not
of the
enough. I
cast
only saw the Matrix
doing the fighting.
series once.
Okay.
I'm due for a rewatch.
Okay, cool. Just checking because I've watched that. I watched this fight scene many times, so I've got lots of feelings about it, positive and negative. You know.
Yeah.
Doing the fighting,
Right?
it makes such a big difference because then you can hold on a shot.
Was that Keanu
That wire move's
himself?
So good.
Yeah.
I
Those
love
were
that
beautiful.
gag.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the first Hollywood movies to really
Hello, hip
showcase
mobility.
Hong Kong
Sidekicks.
wire work.
Shake off that dust, man. Yes.
Yes.
It's the best.
I love this cutting pattern. If you so wide, tight, That's and then back punch out wide again to see something far away from camera coming close into camera. Like, and Chris is like the expert on this. is when you want to get that anime vibe, that's it right there. It sells the impact and intensity.
Yeah.
Oh, the punch zooms.
Yeah.
With regards to this fight scene, you're dealing with two people who don't really have any martial arts experience, spending 4 to 6 months learning martial arts specifically for the movie, which was at the time unprecedented. No one had done it before. And then it started on, then it became this whole trend that other movies started doing right after this. Charlie's Angels did that. You know, they trained all the actresses to get them ready for the movie. I think they even had Yoon Woo Ping, the guy who did Matrix, on Charlie's Angels. It didn't look anywhere near as good, but they tried, you know? Anyway.
You tried.
My point is, with this, like, I can see the amount of effort being put in, and they look good for who they are, but I can see the limitations of who they are because they don't have that experience. And there are moments where I'm like, yeah, I love that I can see their faces. I just wish that they did sub in stunt people from time to time who know this shit, who get paid to train this day in and day out. There are moments where it just feels stiff. Agent Smith, the actor's name, Hugo Weaving. There are moments where he just looks like a robot, which works for him.
Mr. Smith, yeah.
Mr. Smith, right? Agent Smith. But with Neo, there's like a lack of fluidity sometimes, and he got better with the subsequent Matrix movies. I'm sure you saw with Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions. He got better, but there was like moments where I'm like, oh, that side kick looked a little bit weak, you know? There's just some moments where it was frustrating. And then that moment that he loves, that Yung Lee loves, I love that moment where
The ratchet?
Well, both. The camera pushes in on the punch, and Neo goes flying.
Yeah.
In concept, I love that. I just didn't like the physics of it because Neo goes flying.
You didn't like the physics of Matrix?
Well, just in that moment, I'll explain.
I'm
Like
joking.
Neo goes flying like this and drops, right? Whereas I'm like, there should be an arc to the fall. There should be an arc to it because he's flying. Like, I don't mind the distance. That's dope. Have him go away across the subway station. But there should be an arc to it to have some sense of like actual physics in there, right?
So there would be a ratchet pulling him straight back and probably line going up, someone just on a hand pull giving him that tiny little arc.
Sure. I don't know if they put him on a ratchet or not. 'Cause
Well, that was a lot of distance.
That was probably...
I don't believe that would be a hand pull.
Okay. That was probably Chet Stahelski who was on there because you couldn't see his face.
But hand pulls, anything going backwards just sucks. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Punches are great, man.
They are not used enough.
Every once in a while, cutting back out to the chair too, just like you said, story points remind you what's going on.
They did
If
a
you're
better...
enjoying this episode but want to see more,
They did a better job of the chair thing there because Keanu Reeves is trying to maintain his situation with the needle in the back of his head, whereas now they don't
Or
care as
long
much.
takes. Wonders become a little more popular ever since that fight scene, the church fight scene in Kingsman. And they've been around before then, but like that
Oh
one
my
really brought
God.
the style.
This
like,
is
to
one
the
I've seen
forefront.
many
But a lot of them have
times. Oh,
hidden
yeah?
cuts. A lot of them have really obviously hidden cuts. What is your guys' opinion on doing a oneer but having hidden cuts?
And if I'm gonna do a oneer, I lean on the hidden cuts. But if I'm going to do that, it needs to be hyper stylized. Like even when we were working on Kingsman 2, and we were like, okay, we could put a stitch here and it would just go over someone's shoulder, and then we'd be like, that's boring. We don't want to just wipe off someone's shoulder to do a hidden cut. Like we have to find hidden cuts that people won't be able to really understand. Yeah.
Like that first YouTuber. What's the guy's name? What's the guy that makes all of the illusions? Zach King. Yeah, Zach King style.
Yeah.
They're Zach Kinging the hidden cuts on things that are supposed to look like continuous shots.
I appreciate their philosophy with the hidden cuts because I hate when I can see them. The oneer is a thing that has become extremely popular recently, especially since 1917. Like, well, I mean, even before then, we've been seeing oneers where they have these hidden cuts. But when I notice it, it bugs the crap out of me. And in the other episode with Stuntmen React, they talked about Shang-Chi and the hidden cuts in there, and I'm like, oh wow, like that was so good, I didn't even catch it. They're thinking about the end result and the viewer's experience with those hidden cuts, and I really appreciate that a lot.
It's also like he said, making them hyper stylized. Kingsman is so stylish. The gore like almost doesn't even register as actual gore because it's so stylized.
Yeah.
And the way of fighting the cinematography is such a Kingsman style.
Right. It's very unique.
Yeah.
The reasons to do it is to switch rigs. See, like that's a switch from like handheld to a track shot.
That's dope.
Beautiful.
I can just tell this is your camera work, Chris.
Wish
I
we
love
could go back
Kingsman.
and make this way better.
Dude.
This is great.
It's good, but yeah, like I feel the same way. I'm like, camera rigs too, like, oh my gosh. So, okay, imagine a Ronin rig, but no stabilizer, okay? Because it like predated that technology. And oh God, if I could go back and shoot this on a Ronin now, man.
But you know what? See what he's saying?
Matthew Vaughn's thing
I
with the
don't
meat
like
grinder.
that.
He always
do not
pitches
like
like
that.
the craziest stuff, and it's like, where do you get these ideas? It's so cool.
See what Chris was saying? I kind of like that rough look. I understand what he's going for. I appreciate the aesthetic he wants, which is what he achieved in Shang-Chi, where the camera is moving a lot more smooth.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the rough look as well. It's got its own energy, like the camera's part of the fight scene, and it's not to such an egregious degree like Bourne Identity.
I also feel like it matches Kingsman and their style of fighting.
Yeah.
They're super kinetic, frenetic
Yeah.
style of fighting, incorporating a lot of props and mayhem, whereas Shang-Chi is wushu.
Yeah,
very
it's true.
Smooth.
Yeah, that's true.
So you got smooth camera movements.
Yeah, you're right.
To match.
That's a good point.
Love that
I don't
every
know what I'm
time we
doing.
do a movie with him.
Yes.
First thing he goes in, he's like, I want you to go nuts.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, like-
tells you to think outside the box, and if we have to scale it back, we can, but like, don't hold back, just go crazy.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I told my master I'd never fight.
Oh my gosh, Shaolin
yeah.
soccer.
Has
been a
Chris seen
while.
Shaolin Soccer?
Right. Stop.
Have you heard of this anime called Dragon Ball?
It's like great design with such great comedy at the same time. It makes no sense.
Yeah, how simple some of these shots are too. It's like, that's probably just dragging the dude, you know, like somebody just holding him.
That's Matrix right there.
Oh yeah, he slides up the camera, you're right. More Matrix.
Yeah, this is literally the Matrix.
Right.
Well, I mean, it had a big influence.
This is 1999, by the way, so those ragdoll physics are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I wonder how they did that. I just threw them at him.
Honestly,
they
probably
actually just
threw
threw
that stuff at.
They landed so well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have easily just rotoed him out. I'm knowing how sometimes they shoot these movies. Like,
Yeah.
Right, just go for it.
yeah. Like in the Death Dealer shot in Shang-Chi, there's a part where Death Dealer kicks Shang-Chi in the face, and that's like a full real kick in the face. It wasn't supposed to be a kick in the face, but it was fully real. So there's so much here story-wise. So first of all,
His name's Andy, right?
you know Andy Lee felt bad about that shit. You know he felt bad because that sucks. Full on real kick to the face. Damn.
I'm impressed though, because wasn't that like a 360?
Yeah.
fully real. So there's so much here story-wise. So first of all, this is the very first scene you see this character in action. So immediately it tells you the story that he's really powerful. So you get that point in that shot right there. But that's the second point in that he's a good guy. He doesn't want to harm these people. So it gives a really strong character moment. And then you have the hyper-stylized Matrix shot here. It sets the tone of what kind of movie you're gonna watch.
So if you guys have some cool, crazy live-action anime adaptations that like really feel like they are capturing the spirit of anime, please leave a comment down below so we can take a look at them for a future episode of either Stuntmen React or Visual Effects Artists React. Thank you for the comments. We appreciate it.
I never saw this.
I've never heard of this in my entire life.
Well, it's based on a video
movie
game.
exists? Look at how beautiful that dragon
It's
is.
the sad thing about, like, we all love video games, and it's what happens when they don't really respect the source material.
Monster Hunter is about a game where you go out and basically you're hunting monsters. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know what I mean? All right, guys.
Very big explanation. Very.
The world, I think, is rich enough that you could have had a insanely rich story. It should not have been this. I'll say that.
There's a lot of coverage in this. They're just cutting, but you could tell it's like
many
they didn't
cuts.
plan it.
Yeah.
Is what you're noticing is that when they're cutting to these shots, there's not a new phrase of information being added to the story. It's like they're running on the sand, and they're running on the sand.
It's a
and
lot
they're
of running in the sand,
sand.
running in the sand,
It's
running
not
in the
like
sand.
it's like they're running on the sand, and they're getting closer to this, and then they have
Yeah.
this line of dialogue. Like it's not story beats that are happening. It's just the same beat over and over.
They could have told this story from a single shot.
Another way to phrase that is nothing's really motivating the edit.
Yeah.
That's the problem there.
And that
It's-
comes down to, like, all the way down to writing.
The thing is, they have a strong IP here. And they're like, well, let's just make it work. And it doesn't matter if the script is good or not. Like, people are going to watch it anyway on the merits of the IP alone.
I don't know anyone who watched it.
Well, someone's watching this.
Never heard of it.
Because they have all this data that they're calculating in advance. When you get to a certain level, the script is less important because they go, okay, based on this input of information, this is how much money will come out the other end should we feed all this energy into it. It doesn't matter if the script is good.
To them,
To me, obviously the script matters, right? But for the producers who are like just looking at dollars, they're like, okay, if we do this here and here, we don't have time to wait for a good script. This right here will equal this amount of revenue back. If we do a good script, how much that profit scales up is unpredictable. Even though I personally think you should always be starting with a really good script. But,
Yes.
you know, producers are like, well, we're gonna make our money back, so fuck it.
Here's the other thing that okay, can we go back? Let's go back. Can we? Okay, so wait, how many cuts? Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
2,
10,
3,
11, 12,
4,
13,
5. Wait a minute.
14. So like, here's the thing. What's the
Yeah, that
story
gave me motion
happening here,
sickness.
right? He's down on the ground. He needs to get up. He needs to retract his bow and aim and release. Really, if you tell that story, like, how many shots do we need to tell the story? 13, exactly 13.
my goodness,
But
the
it does
shot
strike
list
me
showing up
as
dissect.
a lot of different people giving opinions and input on like, I want it to be exciting, I need it to be exciting, and then like the other sitting there being like, well, I guess the only way I can even address a note is to change it, and the only way to change it is just to chop more stuff into it and make it exciting.
I love holding shots, and it just amps up the suspense, and it just makes you feel like you're part of it. You know,
Yes.
you're there with the character.
Yes.
You just get fully immersed in that. There was so much in this, the cutting pattern, super tight and then super wide, super tight. And then the
Yeah, it
problem
takes you
when
right
you
out
do
of
so
it.
many cuts and you go super tight, super wide in succession is you lose the audience.
Going super tight and super wide, I don't mind if it's not done in quick succession like he's complaining about.
Also, yeah, like 30 times in a row.
Yeah, that is problematic. But to do it a couple of times is actually cool stylistically, and it's actually breaking the conventional rules of editing from what I understand. You don't typically go from like a super wide to a super tight shot or vice versa, right? That's not usually how you go.
Well, I feel like it would also be motivated by the story, right? Like,
Right.
are they about to deliver the killing blow, you know?
I can't remember which Western it was, where the director, it might have been Sergio Leone, who did something like that, where you didn't typically see stuff like that, where it went from an extreme wide to an extreme close-up. And it was unconventional at the time, which was cool, right? But they're doing it all haphazard here. There's really no sense to be made of why anything's happening. But you studied editing. How did you feel about the cuts? Like, can you articulate any differently why that's garbage?
I feel like these guys hit most of the main points. It's just chaotic. It takes you right out of it.
Yeah.
You don't feel the sense of urgency, the sense of danger that you should feel when you're trying to empathize with someone trying to kill a giant, dangerous monster. Just takes you right out of it, gives you motion sickness, makes you want to go flying out of the theater like this chick's flying out of
Yeah.
left-hand side of the screen.
To what he's saying about holding, the thing is, we are in a post-Vine generation or in a post-TikTok generation where it's not comfortable to hold anymore in cinema, especially assuming that this is going to be watched mostly on an iPad than anywhere else, right? Or on your phone. And the whole thing is you're trying to keep the attention of whoever the presumed viewer is as much as possible.
That's hilarious. Could you imagine if that was the motivation, if it was just a bunch of producers with their money stacked on the desks going like, so how do we edit this for Gen Z?
Yeah. No, I fully believe that's an informing part of the reason why it's edited that way. It's also covering up the limitations of what they're working with at the same time. So
Yes, that's a big point.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of visual storytelling is to get the audience to focus on something. And the moment we keep cutting away, we lose all the focus.
I feel like the only shot in here that actually achieves what you guys are talking about is a shot where you see the poison.
That
drip
guy's
from the
hair is
arrow, and then it
fantastic, by the
focuses
way.
down to him aiming. Like that. This one shot here tells a story and hits a story.
Right.
Yeah.
It really does.
Hey, if you're not subscribed to this channel, you're basically
He
just
has
asking the
great
YouTube
hair.
robot to
Yeah.
decide what you want to watch and just have it give it to you. And that can be cool. But with this series, maybe you want to decide to watch it. So consider subscribing if you're not already. I've been wanting to play this on Stuntmen React. It's been a while. They Live is like a good classic 80s camp film with a pro wrestler as the main character. So just these glasses he has lets him see like the
classic.
others, the monsters that are living within society.
I remember this as a kid.
Trying to get this guy to put on these glasses.
Whoa, that's a pretty cool concept.
Here we go.
I miss this, like the spirit of this filmmaking from the 80s. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
pissed off, like in your face.
Yeah.
Mullet!
Those were some actually really good punches. Like, you don't see that very often. It held on the take. That was actually impressive. I say this because, like, this is an American film from the 80s, yo. You know, my expectations aren't very high unless you're working with Van Damme, but even then it's like, okay, so he's gonna throw his hook kick like 8 times. Right, he's got 4 punches here and they stacked it in such a way that it's like, oh, it looks like it connected, and one of his reactions, it was a quick thing and he dropped it. I'm like, that actually looks real. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, play it again.
I mean, the timing's slightly off. He had a little bit of egg on his face. He was expecting it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But it still was like really cool because it was just the quick snap, which presumably actually happens more often in real life as opposed to the really big, you know, things that we have to do for film.
I love the miss.
Dude, you'd be done by now.
Serious.
You'd be dead. No, if you took
Put on the
it.
glasses, man.
It's good stacking though.
Suplex him or something. Oh! Yeah!
John
Back in that day, yeah,
Cena!
that's freaking concrete. They don't have it's not, they're not
Oh, they probably
Yeah,
had
but
gator
no,
backs.
and they cut it too. They probably like
it wasn't that high.
kneeled on the ground and then fell backwards.
Chill, dude. I have never seen that before. No. He gave him like 3 of those. Why have we not seen that move ever?
It's gonna be in our next movie. I'll tell you. You know what? This reminds me of a Family Guy fight.
Oh, right.
Seth is
Well,
probably what he was
presumably Family Guy was inspired by this kind of stuff.
Are they just punching each other in the dick? Like,
Dude, wrestling moves are so hype in real life.
They really are.
Oh yeah,
What do
because
you
the
guys
guy's
think
a
about that
wrestler.
Yeah.
That was enjoyable.
Yo, I loved it.
It was probably his idea. He was
the
like,
fights
oh,
just,
you know what we
like,
should
there's
do?
So much emotion, and they get you like so amped up.
Yeah.
That actually explains why he understands stacking. As a wrestler, you have to think of like, okay, what's the
true.
audience's perspective? Okay, so when I bop him in the head, I gotta cross him a particular way so that it looks like it made impact. So his understanding of how to execute a fight scene is actually better than your average person.
Yeah, because they're also fighting for cameras, right? Like when they
Yeah.
choreograph like their theatrical huge fights, they have multiple camera angles and they take that into consideration. Like we're going for here, then we're going for here, then we're going for here.
The crotch attack. Bruce Lee did that. He did that twice, actually. He did it once in Enter the Dragon, and he did it in Game of Death when he fought the Chinese guy Han in Enter the Dragon. I believe he did it, and then he did it in I can't remember which fight scene it was in Enter the Dragon, but I know he freaking did it. In Game of Death, he definitely did it to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because one of Bruce Lee's philosophies in Jeet Kune Do was you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to win the fight. It doesn't matter if it seems like not a gentleman move. You have to do what you have to do to win the fight. And if you got to grab his crotch to like make him stop choking you out, you got to do it.
Clear misses. Like there's things where it's like, yeah, it's a movie, but like it almost like it.
No, actually, it didn't look like clear misses though. Like
Just the one.
Just the one, but
Yeah.
I thought there was actually pretty good
There's
stacking
clear
going
misses. Like there's things where it's like, yeah,
Just
it's
that.
a movie, but like it almost like engages you even more.
You know, with writing, like when we look at scripts and we think of the action, what helps us the most is not necessarily the choreography, it's really the pacing and the tone and feeling of the action scene. So like, if this is written out like talking about how brutal and raw they're gonna be and long-winded, you know?
And reveals too, I think. Are
Yeah,
big,
the
too.
reveals,
Oh, yeah.
those story points.
You're right. Like reveal the board, reveal the bottle.
Well, that's not usually written out. In scripts, I mean, Joel Silver, I think, talked about that with regards to The Matrix. He's like, typically, what you see is something like, and the soldiers take the fort. I'm paraphrasing a smidge, but that's almost word for word what he said. It's like, the soldiers take the fort. And then the filmmakers have to then spend a considerable amount of time figuring out that action sequence, whereas the Wachowskis were writing out beat for beat exactly what the fight scene was going to look like for themselves.
Interesting.
And then
yeah.
Ewan Woo-ping obviously took that and ran with it to construct what are now classic fight scenes to me. And so what he's talking about, you see that more now, but you usually don't get descriptions about what's happening. It's like, okay, then
Yeah.
they fought in the alley.
Yeah, no. In my very extremely limited experience, it was like the director.
Are you kidding
says-
me?
Yeah, no.
That shit is not limited. I can't tell you
just
what
one
it
time.
was. That's not. Oh, can we say it?
Yeah. The movie exists. Yeah.
But can I say what movie it is?
Yeah.
She worked on Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Just the reshoots.
But it doesn't matter.
It was-
That's like putting you in the big leagues immediately.
It was just my first feature. Yeah, no, I feel like I got Willy Wonka's fucking golden ticket into Marvel. Extremely grateful and lucky. It was so amazing seeing how it worked because the way it worked was Sam Raimi and or the writers, the producers, they would give Samuel Lay, the stunt coordinator,
Sam Lay.
Yeah, a rundown of what they wanted to happen, and sometimes there were specific things that needed to be incorporated, specific props or specific beats in the fight that needed to happen for the story. But otherwise, it was up to the stunt team to choreograph the fight, shoot the previs, send it back to the director. The director makes changes or makes requests or says, "Oh, I never thought of that. I love that idea. Let's do it." And then that back and forth would happen like twice. It was like the least fussy exchange I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because even working as a video editor, like they always ask for 10 changes
Right.
just to feel like they're
Yeah.
doing their job.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, it would happen relatively quick,
Yeah.
in my opinion, and then they would plan the shots based on the choreography that the stunt team made.
Right.
And the previs, because the stunt team also takes into consideration the cinematography involved.
Right. Sam Lay's picture is actually on my fridge. Just his face. No, I'm kidding.
Let's do it. I want it.
When we do projects, we want to look at what the fans like, and that's important. I was so psyched for the new Star Wars films coming out at that time because I loved Star Wars: The Old Republic. And their cinematics, I think the first one that came out blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
They were next level. Everyone was
right.
talking about it.
It was something that I think a lot of us.
This is look.
I've never seen
Yeah.
this.
Like, I would have no problem. They literally just ripped this
Ripped
and
it,
put
yes.
it in the movie.
I completely
would just
agree.
Yeah.
They needed
Fans would
to.
go nuts.
Yeah, fans were going
That
nuts.
moment.
Yeah.
We got nothing even close to this in
Yeah.
the sequels. Nothing even close to this.
I completely agree with everything they're saying because I saw those cutscenes and I was just like, why don't we have these types of scenes in the Star Wars universe, like in the movies? It's frustrating because like someone like myself, Lorena, I don't know how much you've been paying attention to Star Wars, but I've been paying attention to Star Wars a long time. But like, I know what I want to see, and it's basically Knights of the Old Republic, and we didn't get this. So I completely agree with what they're saying.
And I'm like, the technology that we have these days, and we couldn't get a lightsaber fight that just blew people's minds, hurts my heart.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's actually, I mean, that's one of the things about the lightsabers. Like you see it here, it's like they're Jedi, so they know everything going on around them. So the lightsaber fight should be these hyper precise, as if robots were like perfectly executing every move.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And then so you get here when you have animation, because you can have everything be like centimeters away from misses. Everything's positioned perfect.
But presumably there's mocap going
George
on.
Lucas was right in the prequels when it came to the speed of the sabers. For some reason in the sequels, they made them very heavy and slow and weighted. And I'm like, the last time that we had our minds blown in the theaters was Darth Maul.
Yeah, that's one of the most hyped sword fight scenes ever.
Okay, so
You gotta love you gotta love the effects back then.
Funny,
The
watching
changing
this now,
lengths
it
of the
looks like a
sabers.
fan film.
It does.
to what Chris Cowan's saying, the reason why the sabers felt heavier and the movements were slower is because it was an attempt to return to form with what was working for fans, which is the old movies. Everyone just wanted the old movies. That's why Force Awakens feels so much like a remake, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because people just wanted the old shit back. And so if you look at those fight scenes...
and everyone violently hates on the prequels.
Well, yeah, now there's prequel apologists who are like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
I know.
But the older films, if you look at the older films and like episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then you look at 7, 8, 9, it actually feels like a proper evolution of the fight scenes. If you think about it, I don't like them. I don't like the fight scenes from 7, 8, and 9 as much as the ones from episodes 1, 2, and 3. You have a lot of unmotivated stuff where people are just clashing sabers and whatnot, but the choreography is still objectively way more fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
In episodes 1, 2,
For
and 3
sure.
because of the attempt to make it more creative like that.
More dynamic.
I would have loved it if 7, 8, and 9 did that, but I understand why they went that direction, which was an attempt to return to form, which is the old school, Alec Guinness fighting Darth Vader kind of stuff.
This was the right speed.
Yeah.
They had it so right.
I love the break and like the pause after this. It just shows you the contrast.
You also had Ray Park in there.
Because Qui-Gon goes into meditation.
Yeah,
And like Maul's just pacing the whole time. He's like, I swear to God, as soon as these doors open.
It builds that anticipation. Sometimes it's good to not give what the audience wants, to hold it for a moment.
I argue actually that the anticipation is better than the payoff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The audience holds their breath the most and their hearts are beating the fastest before the payoff happens.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be both.
The hyper fast bit at the end when Qui-Gon dies and Obi-Wan just goes all out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my
And
favorite
behind
part.
The back block, which you had never seen before up to that point. You're like, whoa!
It's true. That was sick.
The rhythm is so good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping just one day
That is
we
really
get a
good
Star
rhythm.
Wars
Yeah.
that goes in like this on the action.
Yeah.
Just one day. George Lucas has made too cool of a weapon and like just lore behind these people that can move with this weapon for us to not have our minds blown in theaters.
That was guys, Star Wars. Thank you for this emotional experience.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. That invited a lot of fun conversation about filmmaking, stunts, and editing and all that stuff. The Star Wars thing, I feel them hard on that. Like, I feel them because as someone who grew up with Star Wars, just wanting to see the best of what is possible in Star Wars, it's just like, it's this constant frustration where you're like, I know what this could look like though. I like the episode, did you watch Boba Fett? Have you watched any Boba Fett yet?
No.
Okay, in episode 2, there's a parkour scene at the top, and it's like, you, as someone who does parkour professionally, you're gonna look at that and be like, oh, they could have, when you have at least even a modicum of expertise in this stuff, you're like, oh, damn, it could be so much cooler though. And you just wonder why it's not. On our way to that with episodes 1, 2, and 3, and it's just, it didn't happen. With 7, 8, and 9, we could have had that, but we didn't. So anyway, make sure to follow Lorena. She's on Instagram. She's got some cool parkour stuff, martial arts stuff, and even bigger stuff coming at Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon, all notifications, and vote this up, please, so that YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
Lorena.
Peace out.